Hey everyone, this is Sergeant DangerCow from the British Sergeant's Mess, and this is episode 7 of Chewing the Cud. Thanks for joining me. This week I'm going to expand a bit more about my thoughts on Hardline. Last week, I basically talked about a couple of the things I didn't like, a couple of things I did like, and a few implementations I'd like to see. This week, I've been playing Hardline quite a lot, and I've begun to form the opinion that Visceral have actually got quite a good game on their hands. Now I know that flies against the public opinion, but in my mind there's a few reasons for this. And the main one is I've been playing a lot of Blood Money, and Blood Money is the game type, the game style where you have to take from a centralized cash pile and take that money back to your vault, and whoever gets 5 million into their vault fastest wins. Now, in my opinion, that game is incredibly tactical, and a lot more tactical than I think a lot of people realise. And this has been proved particularly by Scanner Barkley when he and a few of his friends went in a truck around. I'll link the video in the description, but they basically took I think it was like 3 or 4 million out of the enemy's vault and put it into their own vault, thereby winning the game. And I don't think people have actually realised what a tactical game that can be. And if you've got two teams with some good tactical players on there, good teamwork, mainly on communications, because obviously it helps, you can have a hell of a battle on your hands. And I think there are at least 5 or 6 ways that I've seen so far that you can play the game, either as an individual or as a team, in order to win it. And I think actually that's pretty bloody good. It's a lot more tactical than Conquest, in terms of Conquest tends to be you go to capture flag C, and then flag D is the next enemy flag nearest, so you go and capture that, and you've just got to make sure you kill everyone. There's not a lot of thought necessarily, that's perhaps harsh, but necessarily that goes into it. Whereas with Blood Money, you actually have to pay attention to the enemy's vault. Are they nicking your money or at your vault? Is it worthwhile mainly trying to make raids on the cash pile late on because everyone's guarding their vaults against attack? Where do you take from? Can you provide a zip line to make it as quick as possible to get out of there? When you back your car up, do you go in and just bail out, or do you try and reverse your car so you get out quicker? There's a lot of little nuances to the game which I think really have improved the PTFO ability, and I've coined that phrase by the way, of the game. And I think actually there are a lot of people beginning to realise that this is a good game and can be quite satisfying when you come up with a good tactic and come up with some good teammates and you do a good job and win. And you know what? Actually, that's really impressive. That's really impressive from a beta to get that. That's really good. So they've chosen some good game points. And don't get me wrong here, I'm not a fanboy. I'm still standing by the fact that I'm not going to buy this game at release, but I am actually going to buy the game. I have decided. I've played enough now to realise that if they do all the expansion and stuff they talk about, which I'll get to in a second actually, if they do all that expansion and work things out, it will be excellent. I mean, and really excellent. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about this actually, because there's a lot of people saying, oh, it's a DLC and all the rest of it, and it isn't. It is its own game, and I think the way you have to look at it is the way I said before. It's like a variant of Battlefield. It is Battlefield, but it isn't Battlefield. It's a cops and robbers game first with a Battlefield for parentage is probably the best way of looking at it. The analogy I used last week was of CSI. You've got CSI Las Vegas, New York, Miami, all the rest of it. They're all CSI, but they've got different things going on underneath that umbrella, and that is what Hardline is. But I will read to you from an article by a guy called PCGamer.com. Okay, it's a guy called Tyler Wilde, and he interviewed Steve Papoutsis, who is the lead guy on this for Visceral. And Steve said there are certain things we want to make sure feel familiar and comfortable to players. If you think of Battlefield multiplayer as an e-sport and you compare that to, say, baseball or football, you don't drastically change the rules years to year because it's going to confuse people and confuse the players. So we took a very measured approach to the things we changed and the things we didn't change. And that's an entirely fair point of view. And it is, when you think about it, a very sensible one too. So when you think of things as a DLC, it's got to have elements of Battlefield in it. It can be a new game, and to a lot of things, actually, it is. Yes, there's a lot of copy and pasting, but so bloody what? It's a Battlefield game, so you're going to expect a lot of the same sort of things that have transposed from Battlefield 4. At the same time, they've got new game modes that we haven't seen before. They've got new things that we don't know about yet, which are different. And I think that's the way you have to look at it. Yes, it is a Battlefield game. Yes, it has similarities. No, it is not going to be completely different, but the game modes and the way you play those game modes, that's what makes the game. The teamwork to win those game modes, that's what it's about. So if you think of it like that, it's actually not bad at all. And I have to say, I think Visceral have actually taken an idea and they've used it well. Yes, Cops and Robbers happens in other games and Payday and all the rest of it. I've already covered that with what David Goldfarb said. But here's the thing. It is a game that stands on its own 2 feet. I'm sorry if you disagree with me, I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel about it. Okay? I think this game could end up being quite a good, fun game. Moving on from that, actually, I want to talk about PTFO ability, because in this game, more than ever, and actually, funnily enough, I think this is why a lot of people are whinging. And I know there are people out there who don't like the game, who do team play, so I'm not getting on them. But there are a lot of guys out there who just, you can tell, I've seen people, they sat out on the streets with an M16 across from the target, or the snipers who sit up high, and they grumble because, I can't do anything, I feel, snipers is useless, you can't do it. And so, well, don't be a sniper then. Get a gun, and like an M16 or a shotgun, and just try and join in. It just, it does start to say people who really play the objective, when they're on your team, you bloody well know about it because you win hands down every time. And people who run around and try and don't team play, just try and grab money and run back to the vault, they die, and then you get their money in your car with your getaway driver and you zoom back to your thing, you get back. All of that stuff matters massively now, and that is one massive tick in my box for this game, is the fact that PTFO ability must be in the game, and it definitely is in this game. And if you don't have it, you won't win. Simple as. Other things I like, I've noticed a couple of things. I'm not sure about suppression. There isn't the blurred screen effect of suppression, thank fucking Christ, but I don't know if the bullet deviation works. It seems to me that if someone's firing at you, and you've got a shotgun and you're point blank at them, it won't shoot. And also, if you're being fired at, it seems that your gun won't fire very quickly if you've got a shotgun. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I felt it more with a shotgun than I have with any other gun, but it could just be because it's a shotgun. The other thing they've done with the game is they've pared it back quite a lot. So I've noticed, because I've been running with a shotgun and taser at the moment for shits and giggles, basically, I've noticed that the options you have in a shotgun are much removed. They're not the same as they were in Battlefield 4, where you had slug and frag and shrapnel and Christ knows. What you've got is basically, what sight do you want? Do you want a muzzle brake? Yes or no? Off you go. If you've got a shotgun, you've got to get up and use it. You can't be using a shotgun miles away with a slug or whatever. You've got to get in and use it, which is what the shotgun is designed for, and it makes you play a certain way. And it also means that it discourages people from using the shotgun and standing off, and it encourages people to get in there and get involved, which is, again, it's a good tick in the box. I don't think that's a negative thing. Levolution is still there. I could give a shit about Levolution, I'm sorry, but I really don't care. It's stuff that I think actually the game could do without. They've still got it in there, but they've pared back elsewhere, and I think that is a very good thing. Hopefully that will carry on into the beta. Obviously, when you make your choices, make your decisions on how you're going to portray what you feel about this game to other people, and particularly if you want to get stuff across to Visceral, try and do make it reasonable. Don't go out there shelling, it's a DLC and how dare you charge them $50. The price of it, if you play something for 300 hours and you spend $50 on it, you're not done too badly in terms of money per minute spent. But I will say that that you need to be reasonable. I mean, if you want to get rid of something EpiPen for self-revival, then please do make sure your EpiPen for self-revival extremely reasonable when you do it. Otherwise, they're just not going to EpiPen for self-revival listen to you. Moving on, CTE. The CTE weapons drop for Dragon's Teeth. And wow, we already have our first OP of the game, which is Bulldog. Now, Matimio has done a video on this, so I'm not going to go into it too much. The Bulldog is basically similar to the Scar H. It has a very much higher rate of fire, around 800. It only has 21 mags capacity, which makes it extremely interesting when you bump into sort of 4 enemies in softcore. It does only take 4, I think it is, rounds to put everyone down at any distance. But that being said, you do only have 21 rounds, so that's 1/5 of your magazine gone already on taking out one person. So all these people shouting out OP, OP, well, it is powerful, I'll grant you, but only by dint of the fact of the rate of fire. And that's because you have a concentrated round mass downrange in a shorter area. So what that means, if you're moving your gun left to right over a 10-meter period, you're going to have more bullets in that 10 meters than if you have a lower rate of fire. And that's all it boils down to. Is it OP? No, it is not. It is not OP. I'm sorry, it's just not. On that note, actually, I have an apology to make. I got into a bit of a discussion, fairly heated, with a player online. He said, it's my opinion, therefore you have to respect it. No, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't have to respect your opinion, but that being said, I didn't have to call you a whiny kid either, and I'm sorry that I did that. It was out of order. That being said, please do make sure that when you make comments like it's an OP weapon, that you do actually research a bit about the drift, the recoil, the round rate, the capacity of the magazine, and so on and so forth, rather than shouting, it's OP because everyone's using it. Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one. Everyone thinks everyone else's stinks. Anyway, it's been fun chatting with you, and I hope to see you on the battlefield. Ta-ta.